Good morning. It is 8:17 a.m. on Thursday, July 16th, 2020. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I've actually been up for a little while. This is 5 more minutes. My daily routines are fracturing this week for whatever reason, just in terms of the and sequence, order and sequence. Yeah, the timing and sequence of my ordinary daily activities seems to be disrupted this week for who knows why. I mean, just especially, on the one hand, obviously gestures outside to the world, but at the same time, I mean, that's not new exactly. I mean, I spent several weeks working from home. I'm not sure why this week I'm suddenly relapsing into staying up too late and then doing things and disrupting my normal routines. I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know. I mean, none of it's a problem, but just like take for example, put in my contact lenses before recording this. I don't usually. What made me do that today? I don't know. Felt like it. um, it's always interesting to me. Well, always. It is an interesting topic to me. The influence of our subconscious minds on our conscious activities. Well, and unconscious activities, I guess. Just why we do the things we do, especially given that in a given day, the truth is an awful lot of our behavior tends to be kind of on autopilot, right? It's like you're not necessarily making, and I mean, that's a tremendously useful thing. Like, don't make, I think sometimes that sort of phrasing is used to describe people who just aren't very thoughtful or mindful, and um, the implication that these people are not living life to the fullest and that sort of thing. But what I'm talking about is less about being in a rut from your, an overall life standpoint, and more about the fact that, like, when you get up and you have to start getting ready for work, even though you're still really tired and you're kind of bleary eyed, and you decide to get up and start making coffee. I don't make coffee though because it's gross, but just making breakfast, say. Are you practicing mindfulness when you are, you know, making sure you are aware of every detail of the experience of tearing open the oatmeal packet and adding some water and then putting it in the microwave? Like, probably not. And honestly, that's probably not a good use of your mental energy to really focus on that rather than to let your body just know how to do it and do it without you really having to focus that much. You can think about other things or not, as the case may be. But just the idea of when you allow those behaviors that you don't really have to consciously focus on just sort of take over, what we do when we do that versus what we do when we are taking the time to consciously focus on every decision. I mean, I don't know that I have like some profound expert thing to say about that, as much as I just think it's an interesting subject. Like, I think we've all had the experience of, maybe I shouldn't imply things are universal, but uh, an experience that I think is pretty common and could be applied to other specifics. But the idea that, like, if you have a commute that you make for work and you do the same one every day, you'll get to the point where there will be times you realize you've just driven all the way home from work while thinking about something else, and you realize there's all sorts of decisions that had to be made on the way there. You had to be watching for other cars, put on your turn signal when you go over there, turn to this exit, not that exit. all of those things had to have happened, but you realize you got home and you really don't even remember doing that because you were focused on something else. And it was okay to do that because your body is capable of remembering those things. And in fact, actually, lots of times when we have, sort of, whoops, accidental things, it's just because it's like, oh, yeah, I usually do this, and that's how I usually do it. But now I have to remember that today I was actually supposed to stop and go to this exit instead because I was going to go to this store before I go home, right? And then you forget to do that because you get distracted and your body's following the normal routine. You know, I have sometimes thought about, like, is there a story in the idea that what if you kind of got locked into your body's own autopilot? Like, what if your conscious mind stopped being able to step in and take control of those automatic behaviors? Anyway, I'll leave it there for now, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.